guys, welcome to this week's episode of The Confused Millennial. Today I'm really excited because we have Matt Hearnden here, all the way from the UK. Hey!
Hey.
So Matt's a writer, and he has a blog called www.mattherndon.com. And one thing that I absolutely love about his blog is how authentic and real and relatable his writing is. He has posts on there like why I hated who I wanted to be, and other ones just about comparison and all these traps that I think a lot of us really fall into in our 20s. So how did you get started writing, and how did the blog even come to be?
Yes, so really I've always been fascinated with the question for years, who am I? So that was always like a really huge question for me, and honestly, you know, one of the first times I really started doing anything about it was when, totally honestly, I got fired from a job for stealing. Now, obviously that was a bit of a low point. It was years and years ago now. It was like maybe 7-8 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And it hit me, you know, because I thought, look, this is not who I am. Like, no way, this is not who I am. But, you know, I didn't know who I really was instead, almost. I was like, but this is who I've just been. And that was really hard for me to accept, that I'd been someone, you know, I never thought I ever would be. But I was, and kind of then that led me on a path of really just exploring myself and getting to know myself. And, you know, it started just to become more and more important to me to know who I was, to know what was important to me, to know what I valued in life. You know, like, what did I want? Like, that's such a simple question, right? But it's like...
But it's such a complex answer.
Exactly. It's like, and I think maybe it always will be a complex answer, but I think at least if you have some idea, you know, if I think if you know what's important to you, for me, you know, that helps me to know what I want. So basically I got into the writing really because of that, because I started reading blogs online about kind of life lessons and being an entrepreneur and all sorts of stuff like that. And again, totally honestly, I was reading a few articles. A few articles. I was reading tons and tons of articles, like all the time, every day. And I honestly one day just thought, you know what, these aren't that good. Like, I think I could do better. And I owe those writers an awkward thank you, I guess, because, you know, I've been trying ever since. And actually, I found it for me to be like an amazing way. First of all, it was kind of an amazing way to just express myself and kind of think, you know, all the stuff that I'd maybe held back from saying, I could finally put it out there. And I was like, God, this was amazing. Like, and then it really grew, you know, into something more than that. It grew into something that I wanted to, you know, start actually genuinely getting better at, and actually genuinely doing every single day and prioritizing it maybe over, you know, other things like Netflix, which is very hard.
That is so hard for me.
Literally, it's like almost impossible. But I have watched House of Cards. That's really good.
That was really good.
Yeah, that I would not compromise on. But it was something that I just really wanted to get better at and do every day. And then it kind of, so for me, it developed into a passion. Honestly, like, it wasn't really at the start. It was just something I enjoyed doing and wanted to get, you know, maybe get better at, but just kind of like doing it. And then it really just developed into that, because it became a way for me to be honest and express myself. And kind of the more honest I was, like, the better response I got from people, because they kind of, you know, they sort of said what you said at the beginning, like, it's just relatable. Like, we're all struggling with stuff, you know, it's not, none of us are perfectly okay 100% of the time. It just doesn't happen. And, you know, I got a lot of emails saying, oh, finally, like, someone else is like in this situation. I'm not somebody who professes to be, you know, some sort of guru or someone who knows everything at all. Like, it's more about, you know, the fact that I'm fascinated with who I am, yes, but who we are, you know, who you are, and who, you know, who yes, it's just sort of who you are and who we are. And it sort of developed into, you know, developed from kind of expressing myself into, you know, more about, you know, as I built my email list and I built my following, it kind of was like, you know, now how do I serve a bit more, which is a little bit cliche, I suppose, but you know, it what is really going how can I tell my story in a way that's really going to help people?
Right.
And I think that is an important transition for me as a writer, going from just kind of expressing my thoughts to, yes, expressing them, but in a way that's going to help people. And I think, yeah, so just the whole honest and authentic thing comes from, to be vulnerable, someone has to go first. Like someone has to put it out there. So I thought, well, I'm going to do it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. It's funny. I didn't realize how similar our stories were because so I started my business actually. I got fired twice in a month period.
Oh, wow.
I didn't steal, but, and I actually didn't. I mean, I told one of the owners of the companies to go F themselves my first day there.
Wow,
but...
that's better than what I did. I'm not going to lie.
So definitely that low point where just like, this is not who I wanted to be. This is not what I envisioned my adult self to look like. And so I started my own business after that. And it's funny that you brought up the whole prioritizing Netflix thing because because my first year in business, if you talk to my fiance or his dad, they used to make fun of me because I put Netflix above running my business because I just wasn't passionate about it yet. And it's so true. It's, a lot of online business owners consume a lot of content, just like you are. Reading tons and tons of blogs, watching tons and tons of videos, downloading tons and tons of checklists and toolkits, hoping that magic answer is going to be out there. But I think if you're still prioritizing Netflix over your business, then you're probably not in the right business model, and you're probably trying to copy other people that you're probably jealous of.
I think that's so true, and it's like, that's the easy thing to do. To prioritize Netflix, right? You can just sit there and it's mindless and you just watch it all, and but I think it has to almost come to a point where you just get sick of that, and you just think, you know what, like, this isn't getting me what I want. Like, it's getting me what I want in the short term, but actually, what do I, a year down the line, I'm not still not where I want to be. So
it's so true. And then it's funny because you wrote a blog post, which we'll get into in a minute also, about the people you kind of start to look up to online and that comparison and stuff like that. And it's funny because I was very much so a year into my business struggling with that comparison, prioritizing Netflix, and then I finally had an exchange with one of the people that I had thought I looked up to and thought that the jealousy was really like a motivator. I wanted that business model. I wanted to be just like that. And after this really horrid exchange with this person was actually when the authenticity floodgates opened, and that's the start of the Confused Millennial. And since then, I literally did everything: designed the blog, designed the website, wrote 4 blog posts, all within 48 hours, and launched it because I was just so fueled by that vulnerability and authenticity and that real feeling. And just like you, that relatability started coming through and people started pouring in. I love it. This is great. This is different. And so to all of that point, because it's clearly a formula that works, that you've started to get the positive response, I got the positive response. How do you kind of make that, how did you work through dealing with those jealous feelings, dealing with that kind of anger towards those gurus that they're self-labeled online?
It's a really good question. Actually, I think it's a really important question, especially as I think everybody is more, if they want to be that, is everyone is more visible than ever. So I think, you see, and then the first thing to remember is that you always see, for the most part, you see a lot of people's highlights, and you see like the best blog posts or the best like videos or podcasts, whatever, and you don't see the 100 or, that weren't so good. And honestly, for me, it was probably a couple of things. So there was a couple of writers, online business people that I was like really, I was like, God damn it, like this is just, I just hated it. I was like, and I think honestly that, it was probably a little bit of me thinking I was entitled to success, because it's kind of believing you're entitled to success is easier in that, it must be guaranteed and it will happen one day for sure, and I thought, well, and it wasn't until I really thought, I was like, you know what, like these people have, well, it's irrelevant whether they have or not, but essentially these people have worked hard for it, they've put in the time for it, they've put in the effort for it, they're at their craft, whether that's writing or whether that's podcasting, whatever it is, doesn't matter, they have put in the time and the effort, and actually, you know what, I haven't, not yet, and I'm doing it. I'm on the, I'm doing it now, but actually I haven't, you have to sometimes accept the reality that actually at the moment your work isn't, you're not getting the response you want because it's not where you want it to be yet. And that's okay, because you have to separate your work from yourself. It's not that you're not good enough, it's that your work maybe isn't good enough yet. A lot of my stuff at the beginning, I didn't get into any publications, I was like, oh, why don't they want me? Like, my writing's good enough, but clearly it's not. And I think, when you explain that to people, I think they sometimes think that's like a bad thing, but actually I think when you just realize that actually, fine, it's not, but it's not about me, it's not personal, it's just my work, which is different and separate to me. So I think it's about, so it's a couple of things. It's about the kind of entitlement thing, and actually, what, these other people you're jealous of, they've worked hard, they put in the time, whatever it is, to get to where they are. And then it's also, separating yourself from your work. So you're not your work. You might put yourself into your work and you might work really hard and put the time and energy, but you are separate ultimately. And then also, if the people that you look up to are successful because they're doing what you want to do, that's a great thing, because that means the success is possible. Like, it's there for you. Like, if there's a successful writer, then you can be successful. If there's a successful business coach, you can be successful. That's basically the people you're kind of. So it's kind of, the jealousy feeling is understandable, first of all, like, you sort of get it, but use it as a kind of more, think more about the possibilities. That the only reason you're jealous of these people is because they have the success you want, and they've proved that it's possible. So I think now it's possible. It's just a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's so funny. You bring up like so many good points in all of everything that you just said. There's a business coach out there called Emily Williams, and very early on, like in signing up to her mailing list, one of the first things she says in her mailing list is basically I looked at the people I was jealous of, and I went and I studied them, and I realized that jealousy was just a barometer of, okay, this is what I want to have. I want to have the freedom to travel and work from anywhere. I want to have the freedom to buy something without worrying about, am I going to go into the negative in my bank account? And so it's not necessarily that you're jealous of the exact stuff that they're producing, but that's a lifestyle. And just like, you might have a product that just bombs, or a blog post that nobody cares for. That's not the goal. The goal is not to have one solid piece of yourself that you will forever be remembered for. The goal is to build a lifestyle, and there's going to be a lot of ups and a lot of downs through that entire process. So I love that idea. The other thing that you brought up, which I really loved, which is you talked about the entitlement, that you felt entitled to success. And you're in the millennial generation, so that is a word that is just tied to us. Millennials are entitled and narcissistic, and
those are the two. Those are
the two biggies. And I think I think a lot of millennials, especially the older ones that are 27 to 32, have a harder time saying, like, yeah, I am entitled. And I think it's something that, like, is just a reality. It's not a death sentence. It's not your future. It's not your forever. But I'll tell you for sure, I was entitled when I first started. And I was like, everything came pretty easy to me in school and things like that. So I expected careers to be easy. I expected business to be easy. And I think that self-awareness, which I love that you write so much about self-awareness, and you really speak to that, because the only way that you're ever going to start changing that story is to acknowledge it and own that, okay, this is a part of me, but now I'm going to do the work, put in the skill, develop the skills, and continue to grow from that. I think that the vast majority of millennials, while being entrepreneurial, still haven't owned that entitlement aspect.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think we do seem to be certainly a lot more entrepreneurial as a generation, whether that's because we actually are, or because there's just more opportunity to be entrepreneurial, as, I don't know. But yeah, I think, look, admitting it is not the worst thing in the world. You're not a criminal. Like, it's okay. And for me, honestly, when I really thought about that, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm not, like, that's like, as in, like, I was entitled, but I was like, the truth is I'm not entitled to anything, honestly, like, especially success, like, and I just think, and actually it's funny because it's strange because, like, you want success, so who doesn't, whatever that means to you, like, it doesn't matter. But so believing you're entitled to it, but that doesn't get you it. Like, it only kind of holds you back, and you're like, really, that's like the definition of getting in your own way.
Yes.
You're just,
Exactly.
you're just believing you're entitled to it because you want it, but then you do nothing about it because you think you should just get it. So actually, it was the kind of moment that I thought, oh my God, like, I'm not entitled to success. So actually, what I need to do is earn it. Like, I need to look for opportunities, and I need to, just because I think I should get something, that doesn't mean I'm going to get it. It's not how it works. So the moment it was funny. So the moment I stopped believing I was entitled to it and started to believe that I need to work for it, that was the moment I started becoming a lot more successful. So it's like, it's this kind of strange, like, paradox almost that actually, as soon as you kind of stop believing you're entitled, you will get out of your own way, and you will just start moving forward because you do want it. That's okay to want it. Like, there's no need to hide from that, for sure. So yeah, it's kind of a weird, again, another kind of mindset shift, and one that's been instrumental to me. It kind of is, it really, since then, the writing and the business and the clients and stuff have just really just taken off to another level, because I've not taken anything for granted. I've thought, right, I need to reach out to these people, or how can I kind of get more clients, or how can I get my blog post in front of more eyes, all those sort of things. So the moment I stopped believing in it is the moment I started doing all kinds of more work, and was just happier anyway. Like, which is important. Like, believing you're entitled to success is not going to get you it. So how is that? You're not going to be happy if nothing else. And of course, it's not success if you're not happy. So
it's true. It's so true. So you've talked also about switching it from you not defining yourself by like one piece of work or one instance in your life and things like that, and also just switching over the mindset from I'm entitled to I need to work harder. So it sounds like there's a lot of, mindset to me is really a practice. Just like yoga's a practice, it's a skill that you can develop. It's a muscle to flex and to grow. And so what would be kind of like, for the listeners out there, one or two very simple mindset practices they could start implementing into their life?
So the first thing whenever I get this kind of question, the first thing I tell anyone to do is, I think, right, get a pen and paper. We're going to go old school, no laptop, pen and paper, and it's very simple. Just write down what is important to you, and that's it. And just write and write and write and write until everything's there. And this is not about what you think should be important to you. If you want to do this by yourself and never show anyone, that's fine. Just do it. Just take a break from judging yourself for like just 10 minutes and just write all the stuff down that actually is important to you, not what's important to your parents, your friends, what you think should be important to you. And actually, just a quick example. So I did this with a friend recently. I'd been resisting it for ages, the classic thing, and I was like, look, let's do it. So they did it, and I kid you not, like, when we did that, we kind of put it in a little bit of an order, what's most important, what's maybe not as important. And I swear, the first thing they said was, oh my God, I know why I'm not happy. Like, that was the first thing they said, because it becomes clear when you've just got your values in front of you, that's what's important to you, and you think, oh, I'm not doing that. So how could I be happy? So for me, when I did that, I looked at the list and I thought the exact same thing, and I honestly just thought, that's me. Like, that list, all the list of the values, that is what's important to me, and that's me. And I think for clarity and just for that sense of identity and kind of your self-esteem, and you kind of, for me, it was about those two things. And honestly, from then on, that massively changed my mindset, because I was always someone who was like worried about what other people thought of me, and was like, oh, I have to make other people happy and I have to be liked, these sort of things. And from then on, I was like, oh my God, like, that's it literally just changed like that. So actually, it doesn't take long at all. Like I said, you can do it with someone if you want, like you can get a friend to help you out, but you can just do that now, like after this podcast, And then another thing I would say do, which can also be really interesting, is, again, it's like another list. Write down all the important people in your life. So again, it just doesn't matter what order they're in for now, but just write them all down and see at which point, or if you do at all, write your own name. Because I did, again, it's something I do with a lot of people, and some people don't even think about it. They don't, which is what happened to me when I first did it. I was like, and my kind of mentor at the time, he was like, so you haven't written your own name then? And I was, oh my God, how could I have like not written my own name? Like, that's So again, that's another thing, and that's just to kind of help you realize what, where are you prioritizing yourself? Are you just prioritizing yourself underneath everyone else in your life? In which case, it's going to be very difficult to go for what you want. And I think a lot of people, feel guilty or ashamed or whatever of putting themselves first, because I think, but it's my job to help other people. But actually, what I can say is, since I've put myself first, I've helped more people than ever, because that's started the blog and started doing all this stuff and wanted to help more people. I was like, look, I've done this and it works. Like, that's why I write about all this stuff. That's why I put so much content out there all the time. And so I actually became a lot more generous and a much better person for putting myself at the top of my list and for looking after myself before other people.
It's funny because we've talked so much about like these stereotypes and these labels throughout the last 20 minutes or so. And I think one of those labels that oftentimes gets associated just with younger people in general is they're selfish or self-absorbed and things like that. And so I think for a lot of people to put themselves first, we live in a society that they look at the word selfish as a bad word. And in turn, they think that by putting ourselves first or taking care of our needs first or speaking up for ourselves and our wants, our needs, and how we define success, it's a very shameful experience for a lot of people. And I think it just goes back to how powerful self-awareness is and mindset is and how you redefine these labels are. Because it's so true. When you're on an airplane, they say put your oxygen mask on first. Exactly. And then help people. And just like with your business, when you started to take care of yourself and be more selfish in getting your needs met, you were able to help more people and spread a more positive message. And I think one of those really, really big things, I too have done a lot of experiential workshops and things like that in my former life as a therapist. And I'll put people in the middle of a circle where they're just getting all of this stuff called and screamed at them, and they never speak up for themselves and say, stop. And so if you're listening to this, maybe it was a little bit of a spoiler for you to say, where did you put yourself on that list? So kind of working backwards, a different way to do that if you already know that, okay, I'm going to put myself first now on that list. Where in your life are you just feeling like you're not getting what you want out of a relationship, whether it's work, a spouse, children, friends, whatever? And how are you letting those boundaries fall? How are you not advocating for yourself and your needs in that relationship? And then what can you do about it? What actions can you take? And write those down, and don't ever lose that piece of paper, because that's going to be the frame of reference for you to go back to and say, okay, yeah, I see how I'm letting people treat me like this. I see how I'm not taking care of myself now. So awesome. So you mentioned working with clients. How are you making money now? What's the business model? Things like that. I know you're a published author, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So it's in a number of ways, really. So I get, obviously I self-published the book. And that's just kind of funny. I honestly look back at that now and I'm like, oh boy, that's, it's okay. It's all right. But like, I'm looking forward to doing the next one as well, is what I can say. But yeah, so I make money from that still. And then, I do a bunch of other stuff really. So I do some writing for clients, kind of like ghost writing or whatever, for, articles on kind of, websites, like Inc. and Entrepreneur and kind of things like that. And then I've done some kind of, I guess, self-awareness coaching as well. Like a lot of people, I get a lot of emails, obviously, of people saying, I need help with this. And, and then we kind of, we can establish a bit of a relationship, and maybe it'll be over, depends what people need. It might be over a month, might be over 3 months, whatever. And then I actually also do some writing coaching, because again, a lot of people, I seem to attract a lot of writers to my newsletter. So again, some people are like, whether they've kind of got a story to tell themselves or whether they kind of want to get themselves out there, I do kind of help them with that and help them with the kind of craft of writing, but then getting published on these different websites as well, because I write for like Huffington Post and Positively Positive, the Good Men Project. So there's kind of a bunch of websites that I write for, and then I kind of do, I guess you could call it sort of, this is only really a couple of times on this, but like writing consulting, I guess. So like kind of helped a couple of people, I suppose, write their books. So, it's anything from kind of doing research for them and doing editing to them, and kind of maybe if, I don't know, a chapter needs to be summarized, for example, something like that. Or so that was actually kind of, those have been some really exciting projects actually, because they're kind of working on some big important books, honestly, which I only got because, in their words, I was consistent with putting my writing out there and day in and day out. So which is funny because I never used to be a consistent person at all. So it's like it's nice to see the kind of growth. And then what else? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. And then I want to kind of, branch more into probably. So I guess some more self-awareness coaching, but then obviously I want the next book is kind of going to be a massive book about self-awareness, and kind of it's going to be about all the kind of the blog posts, but they're kind of going to be rewritten in a kind of way that's really helpful in terms of these are all the things that you need to do to be self-aware, and then also what self-awareness kind of gets you, which is not necessarily the point of it, but it's like, this is how I've been more successful because of self-awareness. This is how I've got into better shape because of my self-awareness. So yeah, there's kind of, I guess, a number of different ways I make money, and that's kind of part of working for yourself. Like, being an entrepreneur is like all these little opportunities. You think, how can I take advantage of them? How can I turn this into something that makes me money? So really, I kind of think about that all the time, and I'm like, not necessarily I only want to write. It's like, oh, what about this? And like when people ask me for like self-awareness coaching, I was like, oh yeah, like what can I do with this? And so I created a little kind of framework around that. So yeah, in a number of different ways, which is really exciting to me. I like doing it in different ways, actually.
That's awesome. Very cool. So what's the best way for people to connect with you and find you after this?
Yeah, so mattherndon.com. And then also, because I actually post a lot of stuff on Facebook. If people want to add me on there, it's just Matt Hearnden. It's just the same thing. So I post a lot of stuff on there. Message me on Facebook or whatever if anyone wants to chat or talk about the coaching or the writing or anything like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Matt. It was such a pleasure having you. And make sure to check out his book and his blog, you guys.
Thanks, Rachel. Bye.